Dumelang, good afternoon, good morning, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here on what is a very historic day in South Africa. I will go through the statement, and then, as is customary, we'll take questions at the end. I'm joined with the chair of our Federal Council, James Self, who has equally with our legal team, we've been taking this battle what feels like now a decade of work. But the wheels of justice, however slow, eventually catch up. And I think today is one of those days. Because after Jacob Zuma has squandered the people of South Africa's money that could be used for other things, fighting for his own legal fees, Jacob Zuma now, in fact, in our view, faces criminal charges. 783 counts. And I think it's absolutely important that this was on a project of a grand scale where the allegations range from corruption, fraud, racketeering, and the ultimate crime is stealing from people of South Africa. So today's judgment, we welcome today's judgment, handed down by the Supreme Court of Appeal, which in fact flatly rejected Jacob Zuma's appeal in the 2016 North Gauteng High Court, ruling that set aside the decision to drop these charges 8.5 years ago. The court found that the decision to drop the charges against Jacob Zuma was fundamentally irrational and was due fundamentally to political considerations. So today's win is a win for justice. It's a win for the rule of law in this country and ultimately for the people of South Africa. Jacob Zuma will not defeat the ends of justice. We certainly will not watch that happen. And the reason why we continue to pursue this case is because we believe that it doesn't matter whether you are president, whether you're a minister, whether you're an MP, it doesn't matter what your status is in society. Justice must apply to all, and it must begin with the first citizen in Jacob Zuma. So as we stand now, the matter is now straightforward. The charges now stand, and a court of law must hear the matter. If Mr. Zuma is innocent, as he claims, then he ultimately must let a court decide that, like any other citizen in the country. If anyone gets charged with a matter, they have the right to go to a court. But he must stop obfuscating the legal process and rather, in fact, come out today and go to a court and, like he's always demanded, have his day in court. His action over the last decade smack of a desperate attempt to avoid this eventuality. These are actions of a man who knows he has a lot to answer for. So in this light, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be writing to the National Prosecuting Authority, the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Sean Abrams, insisting that, in fact, Jacob Zuma be served with an indictment and appears in court at the soonest available date. I'm asking Sean the Sheep that he must commit to reinstating all 783 charges and furnish the people of South Africa with a date within which the people of South Africa will see these charges proceed. Advocate Abraham must give a response to us within 10 days. These charges have been formulated. We believe the evidence is ready, and Jacob Zuma must have a trial date at the soonest possible time. We suspect that Jacob Zuma will want to make fresh representations about why the charges against him should be dropped. He might cite even the issue of time, that this matter has gone on for so many years. We weren't the ones who delayed it. It was him who delayed the matter. Therefore, he can't argue that case. The charges stand, he must go to a court, and he must face the prosecution. We believe this is completely unnecessary. He's already made written and oral submissions as to why the same charges ought to have been dropped back in 2009. And these representations were rejected. So we will not stand for such delays. Jacob Zuma must go to court. Whilst everybody has the right to approach the courts for relief, the matter at hand is a simple one and requires no further deliberations. We urge Mr. Zuma to stop wasting public funds through lengthy legal appeals and to accept the fact that he will now stand trial for all the charges of corruption, fraud, and racketeering. And we estimate that Zuma's delaying tactics of courts have cost the taxpayers upwards of 30 million rand. Jacob Zuma must and will be held personally liable and made to pay back to the people of South Africa the money that he's wasting through these court processes. And I'm glad today's judgment, in fact, affirms that we were awarded costs against Jacob Zuma, because ultimately these are just time-delaying tactics that he's applied. And he knows and he believes that he's got the bottomless pit of South Africa's taxpayers' money. We are not going to allow that. He must ultimately pay personally. As I've already stated, the matter has been ongoing since the 6th of April in 2009, when Acting National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Mokatedi Mshe, announced that the National Prosecuting Authority will be discontinuing prosecution of Jacob Zuma on the 783 charges of corruption, fraud, money laundering, and racketeering. It was then the next day that the DA launched a review application in the Gauteng North High Court to review and set aside this decision on the grounds that it was manifestly irrational and therefore illegal. If Advocate Abrams wants to show the people of South Africa that he's serious about his job, and actually that he's not a political tool, that in fact he wants to uphold his oath of office, this presents him a golden opportunity. An opportunity that is independent, and that he must proceed with the prosecution as planned and give Jacob Zuma a court date. The DA has always maintained that whilst Jacob Zuma may not be guilty, but that like any citizen in this country, he must have his day in court, as is consistent with the rule of law and due process. The President himself wants this, and the court judgment today gives him an opportunity to go and do likewise. And so in the absence of any legitimate factual or legal reason, the DA is led to believe that these charges were dropped for political purposes and political considerations. It was a political solution needed to be found to drop the charges against a person who was about to become president. And the spy tapes provided the convenient excuse that has now been set aside. Ladies and gentlemen, I would hope that the next time we meet on this matter is to hear the matter of Jacob Zuma in a court of law like any South African would. And we believe that the charges stand against him and he must face the full prosecution. Thank you very much.